Today we're going to be going over how I'm designing this sick shirt that's metal inspired on Photoshop. Going to be going through the masking process and talking about the thought process that I have during each of these sections, and then see a final product. Starting off the piece, I went for bringing in the actual clothes that I was going to use, the blanks that I was going to put this on, just so I could have an idea of when I actually get the design finished. I can place those on there. The pieces that I'm going through and using are art pieces that I made for a triptych, 3 artworks that all align. They're somewhat religious inspired or religion inspired, and I'm just masking out everything here. I'm using the lasso tool and just manually going through all of these sections. I got a drawing tablet, so it definitely makes it a bit easier than a mouse, and I would recommend doing that. But you can do it on a mouse. I've done it on Macs and my laptop, so it's definitely doable, but not stressing too much about all of the sections that I'm selecting here, but trying to get it as close as I can. But if something messes up, I'm not gonna freak out. And I'm just going through and cleaning up the selection to get the character themselves, because this character on the right mirrors the character on the left. And as you can see here, there was a spot I missed, so I'm just gonna be like copy pasting it and fixing up that section. Then I got the center figure with this eclipse eye void, and then 3 people at the bottom here. They represent mind, this one on the left that I'm selecting, body is on the right, and soul is on the center. So heart representing center, right spears bodily harm, and mind is that crown of energy. Now I'm just trying to play around with the composition, figure out how I want everything to actually sit. It's going to be a black and white comp, so turning all those black and white with just a overlay and adjustment layer, and then fading all of this out so I can kind of make them blend a little bit. Bump up those highlights on that spear and make sure everything is having a good variation or contrast to each other. And same with this, I'm trying to bump it up so it's standing out a bit more, darkening that character on the right. And now I'm going in trying to add some grain, a bit of filter to make it look more rough, more print, Xerox type. And once I get there, I start trying to think of how I'm going to implement this type and where I actually want to go with it. Crisis Casual, the brand, is marketing more towards metal and screamo, deathcore metal, and this area. So I tried to mimic and figure out how to get lettering that would feel like it's in that realm. I've never done this before, so I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. I pulled up some references on my monitor as I was drawing on the tablet, got my base outline for the type, and then I started accentuating these edges. Rough sketch, I'm not stressing about it too much, trying to make it feel as even as possible so it's symmetrical, and then I go in with the harder defined line work and going through each of these letters. Now as we get further into it, I realized that I could have done this in a better way that would have made it a lot simpler, a lot quicker, but that's the process. I'll do it next time. And I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna have these spiky. Some of them are getting a little bit too round, I would say, and losing their aggressive nature. And this is what I was talking about when I was saying I could have done it better. I tried figuring out how to fill these, and it just wasn't matching up. I tried to select it and do a fill, but it wouldn't work. I tried to cut it out, paste it, and then see if I could select the center again. Didn't work. So I ended up painting, and actually right there, that was a crash. The program just shut down. Thought I was going to lose everything. Thankfully not. But I started painting through all of this with a ink brush that I have on Photoshop. And it was working, and it took me a while to do, because if I didn't have the slight, like light pen pressure, then it would be too thick, and then it would make the points too rounded out, and then I would lose that sharp end. And around this point, I was thinking, why am I doing this? There has to really be a better way. Like, I can't be doing all that. And I think after this letter, I figured, why don't I just use the selection tool? Yeah, and select it all and fill it in. And that's what I did there. So it made it a lot quicker. I was liking the composition, liking the lettering now, and I'm just going in trying to darken again some of these details on that left figure and recompose this. Stretching it out, figuring out how I'm gonna arc that top, and then again, all these tiny little details, bringing the color back in, because I think that figure in the center was actually behind both the right floating figure and the left floating figure. So some of the things are showing through because the opacity was a little low. And then I started adding my logo in there, and then a quote at the bottom. I didn't stick with this in the end. I'll show you the final product once it's completed, but the overall composition is the same. The front logo, back design with lettering and saying, but I changed that typography at the bottom. And then I tried to mock it all up on the shirt, since I don't actually have a blank with me. I don't have a sample, but I wanted to see how this would look. And exported it all, brought them into Lightroom Classic. And this is where I like to do most of my edits. I don't like the updated one. There's some differences in the actual layout of everything, but this feels comfortable to me. This is what I've done all my photo editing in. And I'm just tweaking the contrast, exposure, highlights, shadows, and trying to get it looking crisp and get it really nice there. And you don't really have to move these a lot. You can move them very slightly and it'll do a lot of change, especially in photography. You don't want to touch them as much, but I'm pushing them. Like 19 is a lot for the whites, but worked out in the end. And then comparing both the left and the right. The left is the before, right is the after. And I copied all of the changes that I've done, the settings for that edit, and then I just pasted it on the second one. You'll see that in a sec here. If you copy on the left side, it'll take all of those edits you made and then select, paste, and it'll paste all of the changes. So you can do batch edits. And here are the beautiful final edits. Got that big glory shot on the right side, full back coverage pretty much. And this is also what Tap Stitch advertises. They can do this sizing. And then the front and back are shown on the left side here.